Presenting the topic of study on the bacterial pathogens in sputum samples and their antibiotic sensitive pattern at a tertiary care hospital, Andhra Pradesh, presenting by Shweta. Coming to the introduction, lower respiratory tract infections are the most common infectious diseases of human beings and accounted to the high mortality and the morbidity. Microscopic examination and culture of the respiratory specimens remains the mainstay of the laboratory diagnosis of lower respiratory tract infections. The major respiratory pathogens are gram-positive organisms like Streptococcus pneumoniae, Staphylococcus aureus, and gram-negative bacilli like Klebsiella pneumoniae, Escherichia coli, Pseudomonas aeruginosa, Acinetobacter species, and other non-fermentive gram-negative bacilli, etc. However, the results from various surveillance studies show wide variations in the prevalent etiological agents and their antimicrobial resistance patterns. The present study was conducted to know the bacteria causing respiratory tract infections and their antibiotic susceptibility pattern of these pathogens at our institution. Next comes to materials and the methods. Study design. This was a hospital record-based retrospective study. And the study period included 1 year from January 1st, 2019 to 31st December 2019. Sample size was 555 sputum samples was collected in the study period. Inclusion criteria. All the predominant bacterial isolates in the sputum are included in the study. Coming to the exclusion criteria, the fungal isolates in the sputum sample are excluded. The samples with commensal flora are excluded in the study. Known cases of pulmonary tuberculosis are excluded. The sputum samples, which were collected in a screw-capped, leak-proof universal container, received at the Central Laboratory of the Department of Microbiology, Shantiram General Hospital, was processed. Macroscopic examination and primary gram staining was done. Samples were inoculated on the blade agar, Macanchi agar, and the chocolate agar, and incubated at 37 degrees centigrade for 18 to 24 hours. Based on the colony morphology, growth characters, biochemical reactions, and organism is identified up to the species level, and antibiotic sensitivity testing was done by streaking these isolates on the Muller-Hinter agar, and their sensitivity was determined according to the Kirby-Boyer disk diffusion method following the CLS guidelines. Coming to the results of the study, out of the 555 samples, 366 samples yielded good, that is 66%, of which the common isolate was Streptococcus pneumonia, 57%, followed by the Klebsiella pneumonia, 13%, and Pseudomonas species, 13%, Escherichia coli, 12%, and Acinetobacter species were 5%. All the culture positives were predominant in the males, accounting for 59% than the females. Females, it is about 41%, and common in the age groups of 41 to 60 years. Streptococcus pneumonia was sensitive. This is a common organism, common isolate in the cultures, which is sensitive to azithromycin, clindamycin, vancomycin, erythromycin, and the linezolid, ticoplanin, and ciprofloxacin. Klebsiella species was sensitive to piperacillin with tazobactam, imipenem, tigecycline. Pseudomonas was sensitive to piperacillin and tazobactam and imipenem and ceftriaxone. Then here comes the age and gender-wise distribution of the sputum positive isolates. As already I have told you that males are predominant in all age groups, and you can find that the age between the 41 to 60 age group of the males, their positive samples are very high in number compared to the males. And these percentages in the males, 59% was predominant than the females. In the females, it accounts for 41% and were more common in the age group of the 41 to 60 years. Right? Then this is the Distribution of the culture positive bacterial isolates. The strep pneumonia, it accounts for 57%. Klebsiella pneumonia, it accounts for the 13%. Pseudomonas species, it accounts for the 13%. And Escherichia coli, it is 12%. And Astrobacter, it is 5%. These all are the positive, culture positive isolates and their percentage. Yes. And distribution of the samples and their culture positivities among the departments. In the pulmonology department, the more common samples we get from the pulmonology department, that accounts for 286 samples. Out of these, 67.8% are positive, culture positive one. Then next one is the general medicine department. The samples received were 162, out of which 109 were yielded growth. It accounts for 67.2%. Followed by the general surgery department, the total samples received were the 107 samples and the positive rate was 63%, 58.8%. Yes, and the majority of the samples from the pulmonology department were 67.8%, followed by the general medicine and the general surgery. And these are the antibiotics and their concentrations I have used in my study. Coming to the discussion part, the present study is conducted in the Department of Microbiology at Shantiram General Hospital. The total samples, that is 555 samples, were included in the study, of which 366 yielded growth, 66%. It accounts to 66% yielded growth. The common organism was Streptococcus pneumonia, 57%, followed by the Klebsiella pneumonia, 13%, and the Pseudomonas, 13%. Streptococcus was sensitive to azithromycin, vancomycin, linezolid, clindamycin, erythromycin. The similar study was also conducted by Gurjeet Singhal et al. And in his study, the positive one was common organism was Streptococcus pneumonia. It accounts to 52%. And the organism was sensitive to the ampicillin plus sulbactam, the linezolid, and ceftoxim. In the study, Klebsiella pneumonia and the Escherichia coli was sensitive to piperacillin and tazobactam, imipenem, tigecycline, ciprofloxacin, gentamicin. Pseudomonas was sensitive to piperacillin with tazobactam, imipenem, and the ciprofloxacin. Coming to the conclusion, the study shows most of these isolates had an increased level of resistance to commonly used antibiotics in the lower respiratory tract infections. The reason for the resistance may be due to the indiscriminate use of the antibiotics and the mutation of the organisms. This indicates the importance of the performing antibiotic susceptibility testing before the empirical therapy.